Neosho City Council votes down a mask mandate. We'll have details. Plus, the latest on a building collapse in Nevada, Missouri, and police make an arrest in a Lamar murder case.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, the Colgan Panthers face off against rival Baxter Springs on the basketball court. We'll have highlights, and the pandemic has forced many small businesses to permanently close down this year. For something to talk about, we're asking if there's a business in your community you miss that had to close. We also invite you to participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
All we have left are some light flurries coming down from our Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning snow. Everything's really moved off to the east, going to start mostly cloudy and cold. Anywhere from 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. Got patches that had 1/2 an inch, and then this thing just took off again after it crossed the Mississippi. They're going to have a mess in the mid-Atlantic and northeastern portion of the United States later on today. They're looking at blizzard conditions, so all of a sudden, the fact that we've got some snow on the ground doesn't seem too bad at all. 28 from the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin. Wind chill right now of 21 is we're squarely in the mid to high 20s, though a smattering of 30s in there every now and then. As you can tell, the trough of the jet stream has now moved on the other side of the Ozarks. Going to leave us with some sunshine here a little bit later on, but still going to be a chilly Wednesday as our temperatures only going to make it up into the 30s. But we're headed in the right direction, because by the time we get to the 7-day forecast and clear everything off, we got some 50s sitting out there beginning on Thursday, taking us into the weekend as well, and then mid-50s by the time we get to next week. So snow probably going to be gone here by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon.
Well, that's good. It was pretty well it lasted.
Pretty well lasted. I saw
there is a little slickness out there, though.
There are slick spots out there. I had to be on the road quite a bit last night, and you'd run into about 5 minutes there where it snows seriously on you, and the next thing you know, it almost let up and kind of just go back and forth. Mm-hmm. But like I said, compared to what they're bracing for out in the east, we don't have any problems.
Very true. Very true. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, new this morning, Neosho City Council did not pass ordinances that would require a mandatory mask mandate and occupancy limits. The mask ordinance would have required everyone to wear a mask inside public places, on public transportation, and outside if social distancing cannot happen. And there were some exceptions to the ordinance. You don't have to wear a mask if you're eating or drinking, exercising, or if your religious beliefs oppose it, or if you're a child under 6. The occupancy ordinance would have required all restaurants, businesses that are open to the public in city limits to operate at 50% occupancy. The ordinances would have gone into effect immediately and would have lasted until February 12th.
There was a draft ordinance that was written up by our city attorney at the request of council due to a letter that was circulated from area hospitals.
There were more than 25 residents who spoke in council in regards to the mask mandate. The Neosho County, Kansas Health Department is reporting 5 more COVID-19 deaths. On December 10th, the county reported 3 deaths. Yesterday, that number increased to 8 deaths. The county is also reporting 155 active COVID-19 cases. A building collapses near Nevada Square yesterday evening. The Nevada Fire Department received the call a little after 5 p.m. that this building on the intersection of Cherry and Cedar collapsed. No one was inside at the time, and there were no injuries. Crews worked late overnight to bring the building down to a safe height so that it would not pose a danger to nearby structures. The city will continue to clean up this morning. Parking near the area may be limited. A Webb City man is in jail accused of killing a man from Lamar. Authorities have arrested 27-year-old Lane Bronson on charges of second-degree homicide for the July 2020 shooting that killed 51-year-old Terry Harless of Lamar, Missouri. Lamar Police Department, Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Southwest Missouri Major Case Squad helped with the investigation. Cherokee County Sheriff's Office says they found evidence in a deceased suspect's home linking him to an armed robbery. The robbery happened on December 2nd in Weir, Kansas. Authorities say the suspect, 46-year-old William Haddon, was found unresponsive in his cell Monday morning. Police in Kansas are looking for a suspect who shot an officer in the arm yesterday afternoon. Kansas City officers stopped a vehicle possibly connected to multiple hit-and-run incidents. It's unclear what happened during the interaction, but police believe both the officer and the suspect were outside their cars when the shooting happened. The suspect fled in a vehicle, which was later found, but the suspect is still at large. The officer was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Joplin firefighters are expanding their hero duties this holiday season. They're shopping for gifts for the children, things like new clothing, shoes, sports equipment, camping gear. And they have more help for that shopping thanks to a $1,000 gift card from Academy Sports and Outdoors.
To help out those families and those kids, it means a lot to us. This is our community, and we've been given the opportunity to serve and protect this community, and it's just another way for us to serve our community.
This is the 35th year for the Joplin area firefighters' Christmas for Kids campaign. Well, Christmas is next week and shipping deadlines are fast approaching. One of them is actually already here. Yesterday was the deadline for USPS retail ground service for expected delivery by December 25th. It was also the last day to get FedEx home delivery and FedEx ground. For USPS first class service for mail and packages, you need to get it in by Friday. And Monday is the deadline for FedEx Express Saver and 3-day freight, as well as UPS 3-day select. It's 5:07.
Sunrise at 7:25. A mostly cloudy start becomes partly cloudy or partly sunny. By the time we get into the afternoons, we get a little break right there, and wind's going to shift, come in from the west. You can tell we're done with the snow and whatnot. And then overnight, we're going to drop back below freezing. But Friday, a little rebound here. How about up into the 50s and almost a warm and windy end of the work week after coming off of a 50 on Thursday as well. So really just one more day of the cool.
That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, another vaccine.
More help in the fight against the coronavirus as a second vaccine could be on the way later this week. I'm Deborah Alfarone in Washington with why the vaccine by Moderna could be better suited to help rural communities.
So a struggling bowling alley's plea on Facebook spurred action from the community. And the Carthage Tiger wrestling team tries to maintain its perfect start to the season, taking on the Joplin Eagles. We'll have highlights. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Carthage Tigers are off to a perfect start to the wrestling season. They've had 7 duels. So far, they're 7-0, including 1-0 against COC League opponents. Last night, looking to stay perfect with a league duel against Joplin. We'll start 138 pounds, where we get our first pin of the night. Eli Sneed for Carthage wins by fall about 3 minutes in. At that point, Carthage up to a 25-3 lead. Right after that, 145. Davian King makes it back-to-back wins by fall for Carthage. That one on the first period. Now, Joplin didn't lay down. Brendan Minette, 160 pounds. He comes up with the Eagles' first pin. Count it. Carthage, though, finishes it off. You may recognize this guy from football highlights, Luke Gall, 182 pounds. Second period. Finish it. Got it. Carthage tops Joplin 50-15. Tigers 8-0 to start the season.
Early's not what our goal is. Our whole goal is to continue to get better every week, to challenge our weaknesses and get better at those so that we're ready to make a run when it comes to districts and state. Honestly, it's good to win a conference duel. It's going to have implications down the road when we get to the conference tournament, with being Joplin another Class 4 school.
Social distancing cannot happen.
To a 3-0 start to the season. So far, they've taken down Columbus, Jasper, and Liberal. Panthers on the road last night for the 4th straight game, this time up against league rival Baxter Springs. In the third quarter, Colgan leads Lauren Yagmore. Yeah, that kid can ball straight through the lane for 2. Panthers on the other end, off the turnover, Caitlin Crossland gets behind everybody. Easy lay-in. Panthers have a comfortable lead going into the 4th. Baxter Springs trying to get back in it. Haley White open in the corner. Boom. Nails the 3. Good ball movement for Colgan. Riley Root finishes it off. Colgan 4-0. They win this thing 62-27. On to the boys game. It'll be Doug Brown with our first points of the game. Downtown Doug Brown. 3 from the left side. Panthers have an early lead. Other end, here comes Zach Beeler. He's got the answer. Go to the second. Colgan's up by 6. Backs are hanging around Cameron Williamson. Nice little short-range jumper from the free throw line. Colgan, though, pulls away. Nick Ison off the miss. Clean it up. Finish it off. Colgan sweep as Panthers boys win it 52-31. Pittsburgh girls at home last night, and they're looking for a 2-0 start against Nevada as Pittsburgh gets back-to-back wins and beats the Tigers 58-46. Finally, Yates Center High School senior Easton Reynolds signing his letter of intent to move on and play golf in college. Reynolds is going to play in the MIAA. He's going to become a Washburn Ichabod. And although COVID interrupted his junior season, Reynolds has had such a successful high school career to this point. As a sophomore in 19, he finished 8th at state individually in Class 2A, helped lead the Wildcats to a league title that year, a regional title, and take 2nd as a team at the state tournament. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a look at how the pandemic's changing Hanukkah celebrations in Israel, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Approaching 5:17 on this Wednesday morning. Roll some weather on the 7s as our snow is pretty much done. Just got some light flurries coming down every now and then. Accumulation numbers ranging. Most areas, I was getting reports about 1/10 of an inch. We saw 1/4 of an inch. And we saw some that got about 1/2 an inch. It was pretty spotty as far as those reports go. But tell you what, after this thing rolled through us, a little breakup right there. Boom, right back at it. And they've got a mess headed out east. We'll get there in a second. But first, let's transition to our temperatures. Talk about the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, where right now the temperature is at 28. Let's roll 26 in Pittsburgh, 29 in Neosho, and 23 in Chanute. So it's just a cold one for them. Make sure that they bundle up because those wind chills still going to stay in the low 20s there even by the time we get to 8, 9 o'clock. Speaking of wind chills, how about as low as 14 in Iola, 21 right now in Webb City, and 22 in Chetopa. So not much of a warm-up. It's because we're going to have a partly cloudy start. This is what I was talking about, though. Like I said, it kind of broke up over us. But then we got the Gulf moisture. That's that snow that we had. This thing's barreling toward the mid-Atlantic. They're already having a huge amount of rain down there in the Carolinas, and eventually as it makes its way up to the northeastern portion of the United States, this same color that we saw for Oklahoma City yesterday, Oklahoma City, we were looking at 3 to 5 inches. They're looking at feet of snow as this thing moves up. That's a winter weather warning indicated in white right there. So it's something we'll keep our eyes on from the national perspective as we head into the weekend. Back here at home, we're going to have gradually clearing skies, get some afternoon sunshine. Wind's not really going to pose much of a problem, just going to shift, come in from the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour. There's future track clearing off the clouds overnight, dropping back down below freezing. But then Thursday, not going to be too bad because we're going to start making it up close to, if not eclipsing 50 degrees. And that's something that we can ride for the next couple of days. Let's go ahead and take a look at this winter system that we just caused all those warnings and watches. Is that all the way from Wednesday into Thursday, that thing is organized and put together now. We lucked out, all things considered. Still do have some slick spots out there. Slow down on bridges, overpasses. We know the drill. It's not widespread. Don't have any cancellations to really concern ourselves with. So just be safe out there and give yourself a little extra time. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page. It's usually behind me. I messed that one up. Like many businesses, bowling alleys have struggled during the pandemic. Vision Lanes, this place in Westland, Michigan. It's been closed for more than 200 days. Owner posted an obituary, in fact, fearing that his beloved business was dying. Jennifer Ann Wilson with the story.
Barely conscious, she is dying slowly. My baby that I have nursed from birth, called Vision Lanes, is in jeopardy.
It was like my wife and I were seeing our daughter die, and our daughters were watching one of their siblings die because they were just as invested as myself and my wife. So
more than 17 years ago, Stephen Klein and his wife Lisa opened Vision Lanes in Westland with a dream of building more than just a bowling center.
Make it where it's a place where people can go to love and be loved. But when people walk in there, they know that they're treated equally across the board, no matter if they're black or white, or gay or straight, old or young.
While he says he supports the governor, the stay-home order and now the pause has been really tough.
And we've been closed for over 200 days. You kind of feel like you've been forgotten.
The bills have been piling up while the doors have been closed, and Klein says it's more than that.
It wasn't the money as much as it was the knowing that you have lost a loved one, really.
So he wrote an obituary on Facebook. There isn't anything her daddy can do to save her. He is helpless. It's killing him. It prompted one of his customers and friends to start a GoFundMe page to save vision lanes, asking the bowling community to, quote, be there for them like they've always been there for all of us. It's raised more than $7,000 out of the goal of $25,000, and it's raised Klein's spirits.
I was totally shocked and humbled and overwhelmed, and it was nice to see that the bowlers didn't forget about us, and I was just overwhelmed.
Our question on Facebook and our morning Insta poll: is there a business in your community that you miss that had to close because of the pandemic? You can log on to our Facebook page, let us know via there, or go to our Insta poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, there's more good news on the vaccine front in the fight against the coronavirus. The FDA says Moderna's vaccine is highly effective, and it appears to be on track for the same emergency use authorization that Pfizer received last week. It comes as more than 303,000 Americans have died from COVID-19. Deborah Alfarone has the latest.
As nearly 3 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine roll out across the country this week, to this World War II veteran in Arizona.
You guys have been keeping me alive, so why shouldn't I try it?
And these healthcare workers in Michigan.
Piece of cake.
More help is on the way.
Everyone expects the U.S. FDA to approve the vaccine made by Moderna.
A vaccine from the drug company Moderna is expected to be authorized for emergency use later this week.
Next week, we would expect to ship 5.9 million doses of Moderna vaccine.
New data released by the FDA confirms Moderna's vaccine is more than 94% effective in preventing COVID-19.
We were kind of starting off with just a 50% requirement. And when we saw that particular number, it was fantastic.
Unlike the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna's can be stored at normal refrigerator temperatures for 30 days. That should help get the vaccine to rural communities.
It doesn't require the same kind of logistical challenges.
With the first doses going mostly to healthcare workers and nursing homes, this pharmacy in Little Rock, Arkansas, already has a waiting list of more than 300 seniors.
I have 2 grandbabies in California, and I want to go see them.
Federal health officials hope the general public can start getting vaccinated in February or March. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says he hopes to have 100 million doses completed by the end of January and enough supply to vaccinate everyone who wants one by July. Well, 3.7 billion adults worldwide are willing to have a COVID-19 vaccine, and that's according to a study in the BMJ. But researchers say nearly a quarter of the world's population may not have access until at least 2022. Fewer doses are earmarked for lower and middle income countries, and access in those regions is uncertain. Well, taking care of your heart could lower the odds of developing dementia. A study in Finland looked at behaviors for cardiovascular health in midlife, including smoking and exercise. The patients with better scores had a lower risk of dementia later in life. Well, a walk in nature is good for your mental health, especially if it includes the sound of birds singing. Researchers in California interviewed hikers as they passed through nature trails. Those who heard birdsong reported a greater sense of well-being. Well, some interesting news about vaping. More and more teens say they've tried it in the past year. We're talking more than 16% of 8th graders, nearly 31% of 10th graders, and about 34% of 12th graders. That's the latest from a study done by the University of Michigan, which has tracked teen vaping trends since 2017. But here's what's interesting. Even though the rates of teens who say they've vaped in the past year has skyrocketed in all 3 age groups since then, teens who say they vape just about every day has gone down by nearly half in both the 10th and 12th grade groups in the past year. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
They're slow out there, so we've got some partially covered roads. That would include Highway 69 to the north, I-49 up to the north as well. Not looking too bad on I-44. Just slow down on the bridges and the overpasses. Chilly morning. Back right after this.
Neosho City Council votes down a mask mandate. We'll have details. Plus the latest on a building collapse in Nevada, Missouri, and police make an arrest in a Lamar murder case.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, our morning talker today is about businesses forced to close because of the pandemic. We're asking if there were any in your community that you'll miss. You can also participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Live look outside of Television City, where we've got a fair amount of snow on the ground for, at least for this time of year. Most of I saw reports of were half an inch, and those were spotty reports at best. Most people in between 1/10 and a quarter there. Still do have some slick spots out on the roads. Take it easy out there. No reason to be in a hurry on this Wednesday morning. This thing blew back up after it got through us and crossed the Mississippi, so it's going to cause a whole lot of problems for the northeastern portion of the United States. Freeman Health System Sky Camera, let's talk about how cold it is. 28 degrees right now with a wind chill of 21. A whole bunch of mid to high 20s and just several 30s on the board. So bundle them up, because even by the time we get to 8, 9 o'clock, we're still looking at wind chills that are going to be in the low 20s. As far as that nasty storm headed toward the mid-Atlantic and northeast, there she is. And like I said, it's actually part of what we got, so we kind of skirted out of harm's way. Really not a whole lot of complaints. That cloud cover on the Skywatch storm tracker, it's actually going to move out, and we'll get sunny skies for the afternoon and evening hours just before sunset. And what that will do is get us headed in the right direction. Snow should be gone here by, I'd say, Thursday afternoon. We'll get up in the high 40s, low 50s.
It's going to warm up kind of nice the rest of the week.
Yeah, big thing right now is just, like I said, the black ice, because it's dark still. Slow down.
Just be careful.
Slow down.
Give yourself a little extra time.
Just partially covered according to our Department of Transportation. We're not looking at anything massive out there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, new this morning, Neosho City Council did not pass ordinances that would require mandatory mask mandates and occupancy limits. The mask ordinance would have required everyone to wear a mask inside public places, on public transportation, and outside if social distancing cannot happen. There were some exceptions to that ordinance. You wouldn't have had to wear a mask if you're eating or drinking, exercising, if your religious beliefs oppose it, or if you're a child under the age of 6. The occupancy ordinance would have required all restaurants, businesses that are open to the public and city limits to operate at 50% occupancy. The ordinances would have gone into effect immediately and would have lasted until February 12th. While frontline workers across the country start to receive the nation's first doses of a COVID-19 vaccine, there are still ongoing trials, and a Kansas City doctor wants to make sure participants don't drop out. Emma James has that story.
When we were all on lockdown and quarantined at home, I was looking for some type of way that I could be helpful and contribute.
Shawnee resident and former city councilman Brandon Koenig has been a participant in the Inovio vaccine phase 1 trial since the spring. The trial, through the Alliance for Multi-Specialty Research in Kansas City, includes 48 people who all received vaccine. Koenig says he still wants to get an approved vaccine when it's available.
I believe that my vaccine is effective, but it still hasn't received final approval, and it's not through phase 3 testing.
By doing so, he must drop out of the Inovio trial.
But yeah, they discuss that with you, and they understand too that part of the end goal is to get as many Americans vaccinated with whatever is available at the time.
Principal investigator Dr. John Irvin says participant dropouts are a dilemma he's anticipated since the trials began.
From the science standpoint, we would like to keep everybody in the trials and follow them through.
However, it's ultimately up to the participant.
These studies are voluntary, and I think we have to have what's best for the individual as our main interest. And if it's best for the individual to get an approved vaccine and they were getting a placebo.
Dr. Irvin says by the time trial dropouts happen next year, most trials underway now would hopefully have the data they need to keep moving forward. But trials starting later could have a tough time finding participants. When it comes to an approved vaccine, his message remains the same.
Get the darn vaccine when one becomes available.
The building collapses near the Nevada Square yesterday evening. The Nevada Fire Department received the call a little after 5 p.m. that this building on the intersection of Cherry and Cedar collapsed. No one was inside at the time and there were no injuries. Crews worked late overnight to bring the building down to a safe height so that it would not pose a danger to nearby structures. The city will continue cleanup this morning. Parking near the area may be limited. A Webb City man is in jail accused of killing a man from Lamar. Authorities have arrested 27-year-old Lane Bronson on charges of second-degree homicide for the July 2020 shooting that killed 51-year-old Terry Harless of Lamar, Missouri. The Lamar Police Department, Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Southwest Missouri Major Case Squad helped with the investigation. Kansas Corporation Commission extended an order aimed at helping utility customers avoid disconnection. The order requires utilities to offer 12-month payment plans and to waive late fees. The order was originally set to expire on the 31st, but will now run until the end of the coronavirus pandemic. Water Gardens in Joplin announces the earnings of its Empty Bowls fundraiser. Annual event sees local artists donated handcraft bowls, which Water Gardens then sold, and then at a later event filled them with soup. Officials say this year they raised a total of $7,034.
To collaborate with the other ministries, this does a great advancement into the next year for us. So this is the second year that we've been able to participate in this, and it's huge for us.
Water Gardens has made more than $28,000 since they started the Empty Bowls event 8 years ago. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, Wildcat Wednesday returns this morning with a game show. That's right, you heard me. We're going to have some fun learning about illegal fences. There you go. Plus, a scary moment for a dog owner in Australia after her dog gets lost in a sea of foam. Wow. But first, it's 6:37.
I think you just want to see the Wildcat Wednesday game show to make fun of me. Maybe. That's absolutely fine. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? Gradually clearing skies and a cold one today. We do have some black ice out there from our snow on Tuesday. Take it easy on the road. 7-day forecast shows you the snow will be gone by Thursday afternoon as we get ready for the 50s. Be back right after this.
Topping World Watch, the threat of a new COVID lockdown looms over holiday celebrations there. In a country where Christmas and Hanukkah usually bring huge crowds out into the streets, officials are urging families to stay home and stay safe. Elliot Gottking has the story.
For more than 2,000 years, Jewish families like the Silverbergs have been celebrating Hanukkah, lighting candles to recall how oil meant to last one day miraculously burned for 8. But there's never been a Hanukkah quite like this, with indoor gatherings limited to 10 people and threats of a third lockdown if coronavirus cases continue to rise.
It's definitely not a normal situation. It's actually kind of nice because it's more intimate. You're at home with your family. There's not too much going on. There's no like, I need to be somewhere else.
To the south of the city, a multicultural and largely masked backdrop. But something was missing.
Despite the pandemic, the Tel Aviv municipality is doing its best to make everyone feel a little festive, but there are noticeably fewer people out and about than there would ordinarily be at this time of year. There are hardly any tourists, and all the bars and restaurants in what is usually the most buzzing part of the city are closed.
Still, families were trying to put on a jolly face.
It's a little bit sad because, you know, Hanukkah is a holiday for kids and Christmas. They should be walking about, eating, enjoying, a lot of festivities.
It's very weird. It's a very sad Hanukkah. I told the kids that it's supposed to be Tel Aviv, the light city, and it's very dark.
But things could soon brighten up. Vaccinations, which have already begun in the UK and other countries, are due to start in Israel later this month. With any luck, says the country's coronavirus czar, Israelis will be able to return to more or less normal life in time for Passover in March.
According to Johns Hopkins University, Israel has more than 18,000 active COVID-19 cases and a little over 3,000 total deaths. Fire rips through a Russian retirement home, killing at least 11 elderly people. Flames broke out early Tuesday and quickly spread through the one-story wood building. Russian authorities say one staff member and 3 residents were able to escape, but at least 11 people died, all with mobility issues that prevented them from getting out. An investigation is underway. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sign an exclusive podcast deal with Spotify. The global streaming platform announced its partnership with Archwell Audio, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's newly formed production company. Under the multi-year deal, Prince Harry and his wife will host and produce the podcast themselves. This is the couple's latest move in growing their footprint in the streaming media landscape. This following their decision in January to step back from their roles as senior members of the British royal family. Their first podcast series for Spotify is slated to premiere in 2021. Dramatic video from a beach in Australia as a dog disappears in a huge sea of bubbles. It was a moment of panic as a family frantically searched for their dog Hazel in the thick sea of foam, but fear quickly turned to pure joy as Hazel bounced above the brown bubbles and is scooped up. Rough weather with wild winds whipped up the suds across Australia's northeastern coast over the past few days. Oh, that reminds me of rowing on the Kansas River in Lawrence. Every now and then we'd have foam beside us by the boats. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
I know you're not supposed to become part of the story, but don't you think that dude should have dropped his microphone and started looking for the dog?
Probably so.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He was like, it's there, and we don't see him again. It caught my attention. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll as businesses nationwide have struggled, if not had to close during the pandemic. Our question to you, is there a business you miss in your community that had to close down this year? And we'll begin with Guy Hansen, who writes, miss a business? How about individual liberty? How about normal behavior? How about life without little dictators? How about capitalism or the Constitution? Michelle Piscini with a good morning KOM and Mama. We say good morning, Michelle. She says, this is all so sad. I hope when this is all over, people will support locally owned over big companies. Husband and I always do this, go to the local grocery store. Little more money, absolutely, but they need our support. Would bleep to have to go to Pittsburgh just for a gallon of milk. Rick Norton says, this is so sad. Lord help us all. This is William Beeching, who gave us a rundown of the Electoral College and how it breaks down on the calendar. Casey Hogarty says, because of the pandemic or the unnecessary shutdowns, we can have Black Friday, but not Thanksgiving. Too many double standards and lack of common sense from the fear-mongering. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, 71% of you say no, you don't have any businesses in your communities that had to close down this year. You can take part. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be right back after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Neosho City Council last night did not pass ordinances that would require a mandatory mask mandate and occupancy limits. The mask ordinance would have required everyone to wear a mask inside public places, on public transportation, and outside if social distancing cannot happen. The occupancy ordinance would have required all restaurants and businesses that are open to the public inside city limits to operate at 50% capacity. The nationwide rollout of Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine continues, with healthcare workers and nursing home residents among the first to be immunized. The FDA released a report that said a vaccine made by Moderna appears to be effective, and that could clear the way for it to be authorized for emergency use by the end of this week. A building collapses near the Nevada Square yesterday evening. The Nevada Fire Department received the call a little after 5 p.m. that this building on the intersection of Cherry and Cedar collapsed. No one was inside at the time and there were no injuries. Crews worked late overnight to bring the building down to safe height so that it would not pose a danger to nearby structures. The The city will continue to clean up this morning, and parking near the area may be limited. A Webb City man is in jail accused of killing a man from Lamar. Authorities arrested 27-year-old Lane Bronson on charges of second-degree homicide for the July 2020 shooting that killed 51-year-old Terry Harless of Lamar, Missouri. The Lamar Police Department, Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Southwest Missouri Major Case Squad helped with the investigation. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
When you do, put that winter coat on, as our temperatures are in the mid-20s right now with wind chills in the low 20s. Eventually, we'll get sunshine, but still a cool afternoon, only making it up into the mid to high 30s. Snow should be gone by Thursday afternoon, though, because that's when we begin 50s to close out the work week. And of course, you can always find the latest downloadable for free on the Skywatch weather app. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, and it is a Wildcat Wednesday. We're fortunate enough to be joined by both James Coover and Wendy Powell from the Kansas State Extension Office. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Now, usually I put you on the spot and ask you questions, but I understand this morning we're opening up with you putting me on the spot with a little game show.
Yes. I'm James Coover. I'm the crop production agent for the Wildcat District.
Wendy Powell, I'm the livestock production agent for the district.
And today we are going to play a game show. Is that fence legal? Are you ready?
Yeah. I just hope like nobody comes, running in saying things that I'm saying are illegal.
Okay. Well, it's legal or not legal. And so, in Kansas law, a lot of these laws were formed a long time ago. So, and we have a very specific definition of what kind of fence is legal and which one does not qualify as a legal fence. And so we're going to see if you know your Kansas fence laws. All right?
Okay.
Our first one is this beautiful stone fence here.
Okay.
It is 4 feet tall. This is probably not close to that, but let's say it's 4 feet tall.
Right.
18 inches at the bottom and 12 inches at the top.
Okay, very specific. I like that.
So that is our stone fence. Second up here, we have our barbed wire fence.
Okay.
Now, the fence is 20 inches from the bottom, if this post was in the ground, and 46 inches at the top.
All right.
2-strand barbed wire fence.
Okay.
Now, for third fence here, we have a single strand electric fence. And this is a 14 gauge equivalent wire. We have a stranded fabric wire here. And this is just one strand, but it's electrified. So here are 3 fences. Now, what do you think? Which ones are legal?
I think the stones. So it'd be like if I'm facing the screen, I think the stone one is illegal, and then the barbed wire and the electric are legal.
Okay. Right here.
Right. Am I right?
All right. Is this what you're sticking with?
Yes. Final answer, okay. Regis.
We got our video right here.
All right.
Here's the first one.
Oh.
The stone one is legal, which means the other 2 not legal. And the legal fence.
So in other words, I am not going to become your honorary fencing expert at the K-State Extension Office.
Not technically. So technically speaking, the fence viewers by Kansas law are actually the county commissioners. And so they can legally define what is a fence and what is not a fence. And so it's one of the very odd jobs that county commissioners have. And so the reason why this fence is not legal, because in Kansas law, it actually has to be 3 strands rather than just 2. And so, but this electric one, as long as you have one electric wire, it's a legal fence.
That's what I think. That's why I felt good about my electric. I felt good about my electric fence one. I was torn between the other 2.
Yeah, it is hard because this one looks the most robust.
It does. See, that's what I went. I did go with the optics. But here's the great thing about it. If you have any questions and you're watching us this morning, all you do is you call the K-State Extension Office and you ask for James or Wendy and you say, hey, because Hayslip's an idiot, I want to make sure my fence is legal, and they're going to help you out. I want to thank you both for joining us, Wendy Powell and James Coover here on Wildcat Wednesday. Once again, if you have any questions about the land lease survey, don't hesitate to give them a call. Or, as I learned, if you have any questions about fencing, thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would change that fence at home now. More KOAM Morning News right after this. With the pandemic, many kids won't have the chance to sit on Santa's lap, let them know what they'd like for Christmas. So we're giving all of our 4-state kids a chance to send those lists directly to Santa himself. With your help, kids can fill out a list on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Now get this, starting tomorrow during the 6 o'clock hour of the KOAM Morning News, Santa, that's right, Santa's joining us to read the lists of the good little girls and boys in the 4 states. And a special thanks to Santa and Mrs. Claus for their time to put a smile on kids' faces. Cold one outside right now, a taste of December, if you will, as temperatures sit in the low to mid 20s. We see some high 20s and a couple 30s, but it's cold no matter where you go. Sunrise in about an hour and a half. We'll call it 7:25 over Joplin. Gradually clearing skies for the afternoon. It's a little sunshine before it sets, but still chilly throughout the day, so the snow will remain on the ground through Wednesday. Then we begin the melt in earnest on Thursday and Friday because we make it into the 50s. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Neosho City Council votes down a mask mandate. We'll have details. Plus the latest on a building collapse in Nevada, Missouri, and police make an arrest in a Lamar murder case.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, progress is made in negotiations for a stimulus relief package. We'll have the latest. And the pandemic has forced many small businesses to permanently close down this year. For our Something to Talk About, we're asking if there's a business in your community you miss that had to close. We also invite you to participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Snow is gone. Anything you can see is just going to be some light flurries coming down. Now we got to get rid of the cloud cover. That's just going to take a while. Everything did materialize, though, east of the Mississippi, rematerialize, I should say, as they're going to have quite a Wednesday and Thursday as that thing heads toward the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. We, got pretty lucky. Most reports in between 1/10 and 1/4 of an inch, saw some patches of 1/2 an inch of snow by the time it was said and done. 28 right now for the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin. Feels like it's 19 degrees. Temperatures ranging from the low 20s and a couple of 30s up on the board. So keep them warm as they head to school today with sunrise here at 7:25. And even when we get to that 9 a.m. point, still feeling like it's in the low 20s. Jet stream and the trough have now moved on the other side of the Ozarks. That's what's forcing all that precipitation toward the northeast. Chilly one for us here. Snows will stick around all day long because we'll only make it up into the mid to high 30s and overnight back down below freezing. But snow probably be gone by the time we get Thursday because we're going to start throwing up some 50s here. Same point in time, Tanya, we do have some patches of black ice out there on our roads. Slow down, especially pre-sunrise hours. Get to those bridges and overpasses. Don't hit the brake. Just take the foot off the accelerator.
That's right. Be safe out there. Play it smart. All right. Thanks, Michael. New this morning, Neosho City Council did not pass ordinances that would require a mandatory mask mandate and occupancy limits. The mask ordinance would have required everyone to wear a mask inside public places, on public transportation, and outside if social distancing cannot happen. There were some exceptions to the ordinance. You don't have to wear a mask if you're eating or drinking, exercising, if your religious beliefs oppose it, or you're a child under the age of 6. The occupancy ordinance would have required all residents, businesses that are open to the public and city limits to operate at 50% occupancy. The ordinances would have gone into effect immediately and would have lasted until February 12th. Mercy Hospital doctor is the first in Joplin to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Dr. Eden Asgura, an infectious disease specialist, was the first to receive the vaccine. 5 other Mercy employees were vaccinated yesterday. The building collapses near Nevada Square yesterday evening. The Nevada Fire Department received the call a little after 5 p.m. This building on the intersection of Cherry and Cedar collapsed. No one was inside at the time and there were no injuries. Crews worked late overnight to bring the building down to a safe height so that it would not pose a danger to nearby structures. The city will continue to clean up this morning and parking near the area may be limited. Webb City man is in jail accused of killing a man from Lamar. Authorities arrested 27-year-old Lane Bronson on charges of second-degree homicide for the July 2020 shooting that killed 51-year-old Terry Harless of Lamar, Missouri. The Lamar Police Department, Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Southwest Missouri Major Case Squad helped with the investigation. Newton County Sheriff's Office says a murder suspect died in jail while awaiting trial. Newton County Sheriff Chris Jennings says 43-year-old Vernon Thomas died in a Joplin hospital 2 days after COVID-19 symptoms first appeared. Thomas was charged with first-degree murder in the March beating death of 37-year-old Wesley Porter. Thomas was among several inmates who tested positive for COVID-19 since late November. Lots of people look forward to the holidays, but this year Christmas is going to be hard for families struggling to make ends meet. There are over 300 kids in need in Cherokee County alone this year. Yesterday, we were able to help out thanks to your donations. We distributed dozens of toys for kids of all ages, and the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office helped us unload the sleigh. Families will get to pick up toys this week at First Christian Church in Baxter Springs. The pastor there says there's more need now than ever.
I know that in my congregation and other congregations around our community, it's just become let's spend our money on our needs. And as much as we want to provide a good Christmas for our kids, we're not sure we're going to be able to do that.
Hopefully, everyone who donates, everyone who supports this program, when they're celebrating Christmas morning with their families, they know that there's another family in our community who is having a special Christmas thanks to their generosity.
Everyone who took part in our Toy Box Tuesday telethons, thanks to you, hundreds of 4-state kids will wake up to toys under their Christmas tree. That's awesome. We also want to thank Pittsburgh's Parks and Recreation Department. Workers there came by our studio to drop off gifts, around 120 toys for our Toy Box campaign. Parks and Rec workers say this is one of their favorite times of the year. Now it'll be a happy time of the year for many children in our area. As people drop toys off, we began picking them up as we get ready to deliver. Some of the toys we picked up were collected by the good folks at Equity Bank and Neptune Auto. Those toys will then be delivered to the Salvation Army, where families can come by and pick them up drive-through style.
Love going and shopping for the kids and raising extra money to buy toys for the kids. And answering the phones and doing the collections, you just never know what you're going to get. So it's super fun and we enjoy doing it.
Pittsburgh Salvation Army says they'll serve more than 1,000 families in Crawford County alone this year. More snow fell in central Oklahoma on Tuesday, and this is what it looked like in the Oklahoma City area. The city was forecast to get between 3 and 4 inches of snow. Winter storm warning was in effect for much of the day on Tuesday, and snow is also headed to the northeast and mid-Atlantic regions of the country today. Forecasted accumulations there are in feet, not inches. Parts of the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area could get 2 feet of snow. 6:07.
Yeah, they got, like I said, they got winter storm warning, they got blizzard warnings. They're going to pop up. Day planner going to give us sunrise at 7:25. Gradually clearing skies, but still cool. Let's put future track in motion here. There go our clouds for the afternoon. Now that does present another chilly Wednesday night, Thursday morning. But hey, headed in the right direction after that, because we're going to throw up some high 40s, low 50s. Next shot for rain, that's really going to be late Friday into early Saturday. And because those temperatures are above 32, we can keep it as rain.
This morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, stress on the front lines.
The pandemic's physical and emotional toll. I'm Naomi Ruckham with the unique ways some health systems are helping their workers cope.
Plus, we'll tell you how a Colorado woman is helping Santa answer all those letters to the North Pole and how you could stay safe when traveling for the holidays. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, congressional leaders worked late into the night to try to hammer out their differences on a COVID relief package. Democrats want aid to state and local governments, while Republicans are looking for business liability protections from coronavirus-related lawsuits. The group hopes to have a deal in place by the end of the week that they can attach to a government spending measure that must pass by Friday to avoid a government shutdown. Well, the Food and Drug Administration has approved an over-the-counter home test for COVID-19. The kit will cost around $30. Users swab their nose and get results in less than 20 minutes that are 96% accurate, according to the FDA. The company, Illume, says 3 million tests will be available next month. Loading up, buckling in, and heading out for a road trip this holiday season? To be clear, staying at home is the best way to avoid spreading or contracting COVID-19 during the pandemic. That's according to the CDC. However, if you pay a whole lot more attention to safety and bring the proper equipment, a safe winter road trip is possible. One expert has 5 tips, including some gadgets that help pack the fun and leave out the germs. Mandy Gaither has more.
Hitting the road during a pandemic? COVID-19 may be adding new worries for people heading out for a quick winter road trip.
Everything's really different now, and you have to take a lot of precautions.
Nationally syndicated tech columnist Jennifer Jolly has some tips and gadget ideas to pack in the fun safely. Number 1, grab a Lifeline. It's frustrating when you can't get a cell signal, but when you're in the middle of this pandemic, it can be life-threatening. She recommends a product that lets you access maps, weather, and extends your cell coverage.
The SureCall Fusion To Go 3.0 fixes that whole "can you hear me now" issue. I mean, it's a cell phone signal amplifier that boosts weak signals across multiple devices, and it works across all carriers too.
Next, stay powered up. Make sure you have a reliable way to charge all your gadgets so you won't have to plug in at a public space. And 3, zap those germs. She says don't forget the sanitizers and the wipes, and also recommends this cordless UVC sterilizer called the Monos Clean Pod.
It claims to wipe out viruses, bacteria, and all kinds of nasty little germies, but UV light damages human skin, so don't use it on your hands, your face, or any other part of your body.
And number 4, take the entertainment along for the ride. Create the ultimate binge watch playlist for your whole family. And finally, turn it up. Invest in a nice Bluetooth speaker for the road and for the destination. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Gee, for someone who looks like they're spending a lot of times in the great outdoors, they have a lot of electronics with them. That's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. The KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Businesses nationwide struggling amidst the pandemic, asking if there's a business you miss in your community that had to close down this year. We'll begin our comments with Will Batius, who says, KOAM, you're part of the reason for all this, spreading one-sided, biased information that conforms to the lamestream media outlets like CNN and MSNBC. This is all about control and has nothing to do with health. Stop helping close our businesses and stop helping get our freedoms stripped from us. Carrie Smith says, makes me sick to see the empty parking spaces of so many of our small businesses. On a happy note, a group called Shop Kansas Farmers has been created that puts the customer in direct contact with the producer/farmer. Had no idea what these small businesses in Kansas have to offer. It's a win-win for everyone. Great stuff. And Richard Banks says, virus has nothing to do with it. The culprit, folks ordering the unconstitutional mandates, which are illegal. The ones doing the seizing are the criminals, not the owners of the businesses. Matter of fact, the owners, according to the Constitution, the owners are supposed to have a chance for due process and just compensation for their losses. The ones doing the seizing are supposed to be the ones paying the just compensations, and those are supposed to be on the side of the owners, not the ones doing the seizing of the rights. Great engagement this morning. Keep on sending them in. I'll tell you, you keep it clean, I'll read it. Doesn't matter to me. All right, KOAM News Now Insta poll this morning. 72% of you say no, don't have a business in your community that had to close down this year. You can still take part. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll come back, update the Skywatch storm tracker, talk about some notes to Santa as well. Right at 6:17, roll weather on the 7s. Not quite light enough to see the snow on our campus here at the mothership. Mostly cloudy skies to begin with, but we're done with our snow. You may see some light flurries coming down. But look how this thing broke up, and then it reemerges on the other side of the Ozarks and crosses the Mississippi. creating a mess out to the east. We'll get there in a second. Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, 28 degrees, but right now only feeling like 19. We've yet to see anybody get to the 32-degree mark. Snow is definitely going to be visible all day long. As a matter of fact, even by the time we roll to 9 a.m. on the bus stop forecast right there, we're still looking at wind chills that are going to be in the low 20s. We've even seen some teens, 19 in both Webb City and Carthage as far as what it feels like. This is what I was talking about, this thing re-emerging after it got past us. And so you've got winter weather warnings stretching all the way from the mid-Atlantic up to the northeast. They're even going to end up with some blizzard-like conditions by the time it's all said and done. We kind of lucked out. Our snow reports anywhere from about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch with the majority of the reports. I know some of you may live in those patchy areas where you got as much as 1/2 of an inch. Like I said, it's going to stick around even with the gradually clearing skies, as the temperature is only going to make it up into the mid to high 30s today. As we progress into the afternoon and evening hours, cloud cover begins to move out. Of course, that presents us with a very cold Wednesday night and early Thursday morning as well. But now by the time we get into Thursday, at least we're headed in the right direction, because we're going to be able to start throwing up some high 40s and 50s here on the 7-day forecast. That snow is probably going to be gone there by the time we get into Thursday afternoon. Looking at some rain on Friday night into Saturday morning. Temperatures are going to be fine. That should not flip over, should simply stay as rain. There's a Colorado woman who's helping Santa this year. You see, she's pitching in and helping respond to some of those letters. As Katie Eastman shows us, some of these letters, of course, are very sweet, but others show just how much 2020 has impacted the lives of our children.
It's been crazy, to say the least. But that's all right. It's been fun.
Weekends spent at home are slow for some, but Whitney Pickering gets to work.
Dear Santa, Merry Christmas. What do the reindeer eat? I've heard that they eat magical candy canes.
It only makes sense that the answers to these important questions can be found by putting a letter in a mailbox off of Spruce Road in Evergreen, Colorado.
When we moved up here, they had a mailbox that had like a lock on it, and we're like, this is a pain, we don't really want to use that.
But Whitney soon saw the magic in the mailbox.
Straight to the North Pole.
Magic she could bring to kids like Caden.
At the very top of the earth.
Caden asked for a Santa action figure in his letter.
And that made him so happy.
Santa said so. In the letter, he wrote back.
And obviously they do eat magical candy canes every now and then, but mostly they'll eat reindeer food like hay and oats 2 times a day.
Some letters are pretty funny.
But he was asked for a safe for Christmas because his sister keeps stealing his money.
Other letters show how much Santa is needed this year.
I want to have my family to hang out and have a good time together without us fighting. Oh, that one's cute.
Hazel wants help being good because she doesn't like her teacher. And Jackson wishes 2020 would stop.
But their grandmother actually passed away from COVID this last year, and they were very close with her. I've even had a mom who wrote me a letter because she's having a rough year. Her dad has pretty bad cancer, and so she hasn't been able to be around him because of COVID.
Santa's responses are all personal. He asked Hazel to find things in common with her teacher and told Jackson it was okay to still talk to his grandmother even though she's gone. The parents often reach out with notes of their own.
It was about as close to real magic as you could get, and you'll forever be dear to my heart for that. You just never know when something so small could mean something so big, and this was huge. It really got me.
Magic made on weekends in Evergreen.
Oh, just a little bit today.
Of our own here, and if kids don't want to, bother with the Postal Service, I love people with the Postal Service, but you can also go to KOAMnewsnow.com, because we call it our Notes to the North Pole. And beginning tomorrow, Santa is actually going to join us during the 6 o'clock hour in the KOAM Morning News to begin reading those letters. You've got time to send yours in. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com, click on the link, right-hand side. You can't miss Santa right there. And all you got to do is sit down with your little and put that list together for us. We'll get it to the big man ASAP. We'll come back. Healthwatch is next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, as COVID hospitalizations are surging around the country, healthcare workers are feeling even more physical and emotional stress. One hospital system in Ohio is trying a unique way to relieve some of that strain. Naomi Ruckham shows us.
Heather Hines is on the front lines of the pandemic. As a medical ICU nurse, she's dealing with a lot.
You don't want to bring anything home. Then you see how sick people can actually get, and it could happen to anyone. So you're just, it brings on a little bit of extra fear and anxiety coming into work.
9 months into the pandemic, and with the next wave overwhelming hospitals, psychiatrist Kenneth Yeager says healthcare workers are simply fatigued.
So we're having both physical exhaustion and we're having emotional exhaustion. That's the big challenge. When emotionally you are giving so much of yourself that it is really difficult to find energy to keep moving forward.
To offer comfort and support to staff, the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center launched Buckeye Paws, a program that brings certified therapy dogs like Shiloh right to the COVID floors.
The dogs are like magnets. I mean, staff can't stop. They just go right to them. And what is really amazing is you can see the stress kind of leach out of the individual.
No matter what's going on that day, when the dog comes in, it puts a smile on everyone's face.
Heather says she tries her best to stay positive during these trying times.
I have 2 beautiful little babies at home, and they definitely keep my stress down. So being around them, I try to eat healthy and work out because that keeps my mind in the right place.
And her pet therapy continues after those long work days. She has 3 dogs waiting for her at home. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
The medical center has also implemented support groups for staff, and individual services are also available to anyone in need. A Canadian study of over 1,000 young adults find those who believe they are highly supported by friends and family have fewer mental health problems. 19-year-olds who experience greater levels of social support were almost half as likely to experience severe depression. They were also 22% less likely to experience anxiety and 40% less likely to think about and attempt suicide. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
No budge on the mercury yet, as we're sitting with temperatures squarely in the 20s. Even lost the 30 degrees that we had earlier. Eventually, we're going to clear off some of these clouds and get some sunshine. Still, that snow is going to remain on the ground as our temperatures only make it up into the mid to high 30s here later on this afternoon. Let the melt begin tomorrow. Back right after this.
Neosho City Council votes down a mask mandate. We'll have details. Plus the latest on a building collapse in Nevada, Missouri, and police make an arrest in a Lamar murder case.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, Joe Biden chooses a former political rival to serve in his cabinet. We'll have details. Something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We're asking if there's a business that had to close this year that you miss. Be sure to chime in for this morning's Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Overnight snow now a thing of the past. Just some light flurries is about all we have left. Mostly cloudy skies, and it's cold outside. Tell you what though, we kind of lucked out. We got reports anywhere from 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch, some spotty areas that picked up 1/2 inch of snow, but then this thing just reemerged in eastern Missouri and blew up as it crossed the Mississippi, and they are going to have a winter storm, excuse me, as a result of it, not only in the mid-Atlantic, all the way up to the northeast and New England. We'll take a look at that here in a second. I want to talk about temperatures. Woo! Only feels like 19 from the Freeman Sky Camera in Joplin. Let's go 25 in Pittsburgh, 28 in Monette, 26 in Independence as far as our actual temperatures go. But the wind chill still remains in the low 20s, even around the 9 o'clock hour as the kids get ready to head off to school. That's the thing I was talking about here. Look at that. Stretches from the Gulf all the way up to the Great Lakes. And they're going to end up with anything from blizzard warnings by the time Wednesday and Thursday are over with. Here in the 4 states, yeah, it's chilly, so the snow sticks around for a day, but then we are headed in the right direction. We are going to throw up some 50s on Thursday and Friday, and the overnight rain from Friday into early Saturday morning should stay simply as rain.
All right. I'm glad it's going to clear up and kind of get a little bit warmer. Had
Trying
a taste
to.
of cold. So.
Not today, but it will be here at the end of the week.
Yeah, we'll take it. All right, thanks, Michael. And new this morning, Neosho City Council did not pass ordinances that would require mandatory mask mandate and occupancy limits. The mask ordinance would have required everyone to wear a mask inside public places, on public transportation, and outside of social distancing cannot happen. There were some exceptions to the ordinance. You don't have to wear a mask if you're eating or drinking, exercising, if your religious beliefs oppose it, or if you're a child under the age of 6. The occupancy ordinance would have required all restaurants and businesses that are open to the public inside city limits to operate at 50% capacity. The ordinances would have gone into effect immediately and would have lasted until February 12th.
There was a draft ordinance that was written up by our city attorney at the request of council due to a letter that was circulated from area hospitals.
More than 25 residents who spoke in council in regards to the mask mandate. City of Springfield, Missouri is extending its mask mandate until April 9th. Officials cite the fast rising number of hospitalizations and deaths in Missouri's third largest city. The decision comes amid worries of a holiday surge. Statistics released yesterday by the state showed inpatient bed capacity across Missouri stands at 24%. Well, the mayor of Dodge City, Kansas resigns after she says she received threats over her support for a mask order. Mayor Joyce Warshaw says she's been sent several threatening emails after backing a mandate in a USA Today article. She announced her resignation on Tuesday, effective immediately, saying in part she's concerned people are not acting normally because of pressures caused by the pandemic. Warsaw turned those emails over to Dodge City Police, who are determining a proper response. A building collapses near Nevada Square yesterday evening. The Nevada Fire Department received the call a little after 5 p.m. that this building on the intersection of Cherry and Cedar collapsed. No one was inside at the time and there were no injuries. Crews worked late overnight to bring the building down to a safe height so that it wouldn't pose a danger to nearby structures. The city will continue to clean up this morning. Parking near the area may be limited. Webb City man is in jail accused of killing a man from Lamar. Authorities have arrested 27-year-old Lane Bronson on charges of second-degree homicide for the July 2020 shooting that killed 51-year-old Terry Harless of Lamar, Missouri. The Lamar Police Department, Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Southwest Missouri Major Case Squad helped with the investigation. Newton County Sheriff's Office says a murder suspect died in jail while awaiting trial. Newton County Sheriff Chris Jennings says 43-year-old Vernon Thomas died in a Joplin hospital 2 days after COVID-19 symptoms first appeared. Thomas was charged with first-degree murder in the March beating death of 37-year-old Wesley Porter. Thomas was among several inmates who tested positive for COVID-19 since late November. Cherokee County Sheriff's Office identify a burglary suspect who originally gave a fake name. Authorities say Kevin Honton was arrested for allegedly burglarizing a home in Lowell, Kansas, before leading police on a 4.5-hour manhunt. Police say when he was caught, he said his name was James Weiss Jr. Official charges for the burglary have not yet been filed, but Honton is wanted for felony warrants in Missouri. A group of Missouri lawmakers approve a resolution questioning the integrity of the presidential election. A state House committee voted Monday 6-3 in favor of the resolution, calling on 6 states that supported Joe Biden to investigate alleged voter fraud. The president's fraud allegations have failed to gain significant traction in courts across the country. The resolution's not expected to advance further. Nationally recognized artist Linda Baldwin was helping out Joplin's Ronald McDonald House. She donated a limited number of her Belsnickel collectibles with her signature on them for comfort bags. Those bags will be given to families of seriously ill children being treated at local hospitals.
The original Belsnickel was an old German Santa who was as likely to bring switches to naughty children as he was to bring gifts to the good children.
Baldwin's personal Belsnickel collection she donated survived the Joplin 2011 tornado. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, transition continues.
President-elect Joe Biden is planning to make more history with his cabinet picks. I'm Deborah Alfrone in Washington with the latest on that and whether or not Congress could pass a coronavirus relief bill before the holidays.
Plus, is there a business you miss in your community that had to close down because of the pandemic? We'll let you weigh in on our Something to Talk About. First, it's 6:37.
We get to kind of enjoy the snow on the ground for a day. Travel impacts pretty limited. Are picking up reports of some slick spots out there, so slow down on the bridges and overpasses. Just take the old foot off the accelerator. Reason it will stick around, only going to make it up into the mid to high 30s later on today. Should be gone by Thursday, though, as we're going to see 50s here to end the work week. Be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, President-elect Joe Biden is expected to make history again as he adds new members to his cabinet. This after a day of campaigning in Georgia to back two Democratic Senate candidates. And surprise congratulations. Deborah Alfrone has a wrap-up from Washington.
Getting nothing done just hurts Georgia.
President-elect Joe Biden spent the day campaigning in Georgia to try and help secure a win for Democrats. The two Senate seats still up for grabs in January 5th's runoff could determine the balance of power.
I need 2 senators from this state. Want to get something done.
The trip comes as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell recognized Biden's win for the first time and urged fellow Republicans to respect the vote.
Many millions of us had hoped the presidential election would yield a different result. The Electoral College has spoken.
Senator McConnell quickly got back to the business at hand and insisted that lawmakers won't go home for the holidays until a coronavirus relief bill is passed.
The deal would likely include more federal unemployment insurance, another round of loans and grants for small businesses, rental and food help for struggling families, and for testing, tracing, and vaccine distribution.
If we don't spend it, I think we will go into a depression and end up with the economy collapsing.
Meantime, some more potential history being made on President-elect Biden's cabinet. He plans to name former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg as his transportation secretary. The 38-year-old would be the first openly gay Senate-confirmed cabinet official. Deborah Alfrone, CBS News, Washington.
Sources tell CBS News Biden is also planning to name former Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm as Energy Secretary. The Department of Energy rolled back water flow restrictions on shower heads and other appliances on Tuesday. Before, shower heads were not allowed to use more than 2.5 gallons of water per minute. The revised policy says each nozzle can now use that amount. That effectively eliminates the restriction since manufacturers can attach as many nozzles as they want to a single shower head. Also, the new rules say washing machines can use as much water and energy as they want, so long as their normal cycle times are less than 30 minutes for top loaders and 45 minutes for front loaders. Not enough people who are testing positive for coronavirus are getting the monoclonal antibody treatment. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says the U.S. has a surplus of the Regeneron and Eli Lilly treatments. The treatment involves an infusion, which people might resist if they feel healthy. But Azar says patients are waiting until they're at the hospital to be treated. By then, it could be too late. He urges doctors to prescribe these products earlier for anyone over the age of 65 or at risk of serious complications. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Morning Talker.
Thank you, Tanya. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, businesses nationwide struggling amid the pandemic, and our question, if there's a business you miss in your community that had to close down this year. We'll kick back off with Lisa Wickwire, who says Casa Montez. But Lisa says, I don't understand if Joplin is a mask mandate and businesses have it posted on their door, then why not enforce it? If you aren't going to enforce it, then don't post it on the door. Good morning, Michael and Tanya. We say good morning, Lisa. Emma Long says, yeah, all because of a 99% survival rate of a cold virus. All these people lose their business. Emma says that's ridiculous. Casey and Richard, I got to yours. I apologize. Merle Bass, he says Shamrock Nut and Bolt, Oklahoma upholstery supply. Just two businesses, been around for 60 to 80 years. Took less than a year for the draconian communist criminal lockdown to kill. On the morning Insta poll right now, 71% of you have said no. there's not a business that you miss in your community that had to close down this year. Polls still open. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Try to get some more of your comments here. We've got to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
All right, we kick off our 4-state birthday list this morning with Annabelle Fagan, who's now 7 strong. Happy birthday, Annabelle.
In quad ball, Ray Dollison. Nice catches, plural. And Ray celebrating number 12.
All right. And we've got Trinity Harms, who's now sweet 16. Pretty picture there in Joplin.
Got a 40th birthday celebration for Rory Chapman. Great looking photo right there, Rory. Congratulations and happy birthday in Fort Scott.
I love that picture. And Angela Meyer-Schloop is turning 46 years old this year. Happy birthday to Angela in Shell City. Her birthday actually was yesterday, with love from Mom, Doug, family, and friends.
And a big birthday in commerce is Eva Lou Smith. She is celebrating her 90th. Miss Eva Lou, I want you to have a marvelous, marvelous day. Look at that. She's like, give me my coffee, give me my purse. I got stuff to do, hey Slip. Don't slow me down. Happy birthday, Eva Lou.
All right. And we got a couple of employees at Medical Lodges.
Yo, Medical Lodge.
Kaylee Fitz and Denise Zook. Happy birthday to both of you.
Party on there at Medical Lodges today. That's great. Yvonne Gettle. A happy birthday to Yvonne in Columbus. And Lauren Schmelzer celebrating the big number 20 as well. Lauren is in Columbus. Now, Paula Strange Hodge, she is celebrating her 54th. Now, her birthday was yesterday. We're going to do it today. But if you see Paula Strange Hodge, wish her a happy birthday because she just moved into our area. And she's looking for a couple of her cousins to try to reconnect. So if you know Paula Strange Hodge, go ahead and give her a holler and look her up. So Paula, best of luck to you on that. And Harley Babb turning 25. A special birthday wish to Harley in Miami. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a member of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/birthdays and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Cloud cover really slowing us down here from starting to see any light. I wanted to give an idea of how much snow that we still had on the ground here at campus. Our snow is gone. Just some flurries coming down. That's all it has amounted to. Satellite, of course, showing the cloud cover. Now, as it broke up here last night, watch this thing reemerge as it gets close to the Mississippi, and it just blows up there on the other side. It's going to create quite a weather event for the mid-Atlantic and northeastern portions of the United States. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, a cold one in the 4 states, 28 degrees with a wind chill of only 29. Miami and Grove reemerged back to 30, but Iola now down to 19. So by the time recess rolls around, probably one of those where they're going to have it in the gymnasium because it still feels like it's in the low 20s there at 9 a.m. As a matter of fact, we're back down into some teens here in Webb City and in Carthage as far as what it feels like. This is a system that we got part of and that Oklahoma City got part of. And I tell you what, even though like they got 3 to 5 inches down in OKC, really the majority of our reports were about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. Saw some patchy spots that picked up about 1/2 inch. This thing's going to throw down feet of snow as it approaches the northeastern portion of the United States. That's a winter storm warning that they have indicated in the white right there. So nationally speaking, that's going to be the big talker as we head into the weekend. We're just going to have to put up with cold temps, which means the snow is going to stay on the ground for at least a day. Cloud cover clears out, get a little afternoon sunshine there before it's all said and done. And that also sets us up for a pretty chilly night. But one thing that you'll notice here, as we work into the 7-day forecast, snow's probably going to be gone by the time we get into Thursday afternoon, because we're going to roll back-to-back 30s, stay above freezing there in between Thursday and Friday. See the rain formula there on Friday. Well, that's going to be Friday night into Saturday morning and Nice thing is, should just stay as rain with those temperatures. Then we hit a little bit of a warming trend here with as much as the 50s, mid 50s by the time we get in the middle of next week. So while we're talking about a warming trend and our snow not being too bad, did get some reports of black ice out there. Slow down this morning, give yourself a little extra time, but just partially covered roads is all the Department of Transportation has on its websites in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas. So it doesn't look too bad out there. Now, what does look bad is this monster that stretches from the Gulf to the Great Lakes, and watch this thing just swallow up the Northeast all the way through New England by the time they get into the end of the work week. Let's consider ourselves lucky, and let's wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this. We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Sergeant First Class Matthew Todd served in the United States Army, a veteran of the Iraq War, and a native of Iola, Kansas. We salute you, this morning's four-state hero, Matthew Todd. Let's transition over to Facebook. Wrap up some more comments here about small business closings during 2020. Karen Dressler says, I really miss beans and barbecue in Edna, Kansas. Lance Garrison says there's over 30 million small businesses in the U.S. That gives them a COVID survival rate of 99.9. How many would have shut down anyway? Why didn't Trump sign an executive order that would keep businesses afloat? And Justin Hodson says liberals are destroying this country, and the good, hardworking Americans need to stand up and fight the liberal tyranny. We need to take this country back from them that is bleeding our country dry. One last look at our morning Insta poll, if you will. Right now, 67% of you said no, there actually isn't a close down as far as a small business in your community this year. And we've actually seen that percentage go from the 70s down to 66 now. Great thing about the Insta poll, updates just like that, and you can take part. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Tanya?
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Neosho City Council last night did not pass ordinances that would require a mandatory mask mandate and occupancy limits. The mask ordinance would have required everyone to wear a mask inside public places, on public transportation, and outside if social distancing cannot happen. The occupancy ordinance would have required all restaurants and businesses that are open to the public inside city limits to operate at 50% capacity. The nationwide rollout of Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine continues, with healthcare workers and nursing home residents among the first to be immunized. FDA released a report that said a vaccine made by Moderna appears to be effective, and that could clear the way for it to be authorized for emergency use by the end of this week. The building collapses near the Nevada Square yesterday evening. The Nevada Fire Department received the call a little after 5 p.m. that this building on the intersection of Cherry and Cedar collapsed. No one was inside at the time, and there were no injuries. Crews worked late overnight to bring the building down to a safe height so it would not pose a danger to nearby structures. The city will continue cleanup this morning. Parking near the area may be limited. Webb City man is in jail accused of killing a man from Lamar. Authorities have arrested 27-year-old Lane Bronson on charges of second-degree homicide for the July 2020 shooting that killed 51-year-old Terry Harless of Lamar, Missouri. The Lamar Police Department, Missouri State Highway Patrol, and the Southwest Missouri Major Case Squad helped with the investigation. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Still below the freezing mark. I've yet to see anybody creep up to 32 degrees. Need the sun to kind of kick in. That's going to take a little bit though because of the cloud cover that we have. But by the time we get to the afternoon hours, we will go from partly cloudy early to mostly sunny late. A little shift in the wind comes in from the west, but because we stay in the 30s today, our snow from last night will stick around on the ground. Then we begin the melt on Thursday as we work up into the 50s. Friday, 50s. Next shot for rain. Friday night into Saturday morning.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making Grandma Irma's red cabbage in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM. CBS Morning News coming up next. You can flip over, join Tanya and I over on Fox 14 as we continue to roll your comments and our Insta poll. Have a great, safe Wednesday. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance.